Hi. I wanted to do something to sort of commemorate hitting 25,000 subscribers, which we have also rocketed past in the last couple of weeks, and I am actually now staring down about 28,000. This is a huge milestone for me as somebody who doesn't post regularly and is not friends with the algorithm. This feels like a very sort of odd thing for me to be doing because I kind of live in this default mindset of nobody's gonna be interested in listening to me just sit and talk about myself for an extended period of time, but I kind of wanted to gain a better concept of a sort of connection with the audience on the other side of my camera, and so I posed the question to you guys if anybody was interested in a Q&A, and I got a lot of responses, and so here we are. I'm gonna put some stuff on my face and we're gonna have a fun little chat, by which of course I mean that I am going to sit and talk to my camera alone in my room for an hour, and we're gonna call it a dialogue. Oh, first and foremost, I need my little fucking, we need the makeup cat ears. There we go. Now we're ready. So starting off nice and simple, Finn asks, how are you? Which is, ooh, I am less stressed now than I was a month ago. At this particular point in time, I just had a lot of shit going on all at once. In chronological order, which I wrote down so that I can remember everything that I was doing. I was working on my Patrick pants first. That started in February, and it kind of just got extended through several months as I was doing other shit. I took on that costuming job I mentioned in that video, and so that was a good thing that I enjoyed doing and is really fucking good money, and it's really nice to be paid immediately and directly for a skill that I'm really specialized in, that I spent a lot of years honing, but it also ate up a few weeks that I could have been spending on other things. I altered my friend's wedding dress. So that was that took up probably about a week in, what was that, early June. I have been working on the rest of June, and then a bunch of July was spent on a tent, which I will be elaborating on in my next video. But what I'm doing is I've got an event that I'm selling at the end of this week, this Saturday, at the time of recording. And so I decided I needed to, be whimsical about my display, about the whole canopy. I needed to make one myself. I also have been working on all of the product and getting my display odds and ends for that event. Actually, a lot of that I did while I was at work at my barista job, just on my 10-minute breaks. So that's a hard deadline. That's beginning of August that I have been working on for the past couple months. And then I have another couple of hard deadlines, which is the Renaissance Fair, which is a little bit more movable, but is likely gonna be in mid-October. And I have two costumes that I need to make for that. One of them is for me. I'm finishing a costume that I have a couple of pieces for already, but I'm making the bulk of it right now. And then I also have a commission that I'm doing for a friend. And I would really like to have that done by the Renaissance Fair so that I can give it to him when I see him, and then he can wear it at the event. And then throughout this process, through these couple of months, I have been editing videos about most of these builds on top of it all. So I've been in crunch mode since May? Early May? End of May. End of May is when I took on the wedding dress job, and I was oh fuck. And I will continue to be in crunch mode throughout September and probably a bit of October. And then maybe one day I'll be able to just sit down. This is why I only upload one video every other month, by the way. It's because it's because I don't know how to do one thing at a time. and I'm doing all of this shit all at once, and I only had, until very recently, I only had 2 or 3 open days in a week to work on all of this shit because I was at my barista job 4 days a week. I recently shifted it so that I'm only there 3 days, and I'm just working more hours on the days I'm there, which is really nice, and I am a little bit less stressed because of that. By the way, we're doing whiteface. Oh my god, it's been a long time since I used this product. Oh, it's so stiff. But yeah, so bear with me, this is going to look insane for a while. I got a number of questions. Oh my god, what the fuck? I got a number of questions that were some variation of like, how did you get started with sewing? Where does a beginner go to learn the different types of stitches? Wow, I love it when I try to say a sentence and then I have a stroke instead. How'd you get into sewing? How do I start sewing? So the absolute basics of sewing, like just very, very basic needle and thread manipulation, I learned as a kid. My mom is somebody who is crafty, and so she was able to teach me that. I remember the very first things that I sewed at all were these little flat plushies. The first time I was making clothing was in late high school. I think the first thing I ever made myself was an Alice in Wonderland costume. Horrendous, by the way, terrible job, was an absolute shit show of construction. But it was it was me and Annika Victoria's circle skirt tutorial on YouTube, and a fucking dream. And then I got into more into cosplay when I was in my first year of college, and I met some friends that were already into cosplay and anime and shit like that. Shout out to Yuri on Ice. Viktor Nikiforov was my first fully self-made cosplay with some assistance, but you know. How do I want to go with this? I have so much forehead. The slightly more advanced basics, sort of getting a sense of how to put a garment together, ways of finishing seams, awareness of grain lines, things like that. Most of my technique comes directly from Bernadette Banner. Oh, I was really super into her videos. This was especially also at a point in time where I was really, really into the mid-Victorian period. That was a special interest of mine. And so her videos really lined up with that for me. That's why most of my technique is kind of primarily drawn from historical sewing technique, is because I learned from a historian, basically. No, I usually use a different one for my eyes. It has been so long since I did whiteface. Where's my fucking... Ew, that's right. Woof. As far as you getting started on your own journey, there are literally countless tutorials about everything you could possibly need to know to get started with sewing. If you just search up basic hand sewing stitches, you will get more tutorials handed to you than you will know what to do with. If you want a more specific jumping off point, I know Bernadette Banner has a video on basic hand stitches. I know she also has a Skillshare class that is basically the same thing. I would guess that probably is you have a progression of learning the stitches and then moving up to making something like a shirt or something, probably. Oh my god. Wow, this is a lot of product that I have on my face. It really is kind of just you have to just jump into it. Pick something that you want to make, look up the basics, and then just dive into it. Find a tutorial, research anything that you get stuck on, any terminology that you come across that you don't, that you're not familiar with. The internet is search engines are free. And every time I do this, it awakens something in me. I also have a similar question, but it's what not to do. Anything I should know not to do, which is such a fascinating angle to look at that with. Don't spend a lot of money on your materials. Especially if it's not something you want to continue doing. See if you could borrow needle and thread or something. Go to a thrift store, find the cheapest shit, find fabric that is as close to free as you possibly can find, especially because have an awareness that it's gonna, if you have no transferable skills, they're gonna be ugly. Your pants are, whatever you're making, it's gonna come out kind of fucky. Cause it's a learning curve, you know? I don't know, dude, you're not really gonna find many places that are telling you have to make a shirt or whatever it is in one specific way, because there are truly countless methods by which to make any garment, any given thing that you want to make. Like, the only environment where you're really gonna find somebody kind of telling you like, okay, do it like this and like this and like this exactly, is in like a step-by-step tutorial where it's like, okay, these are the techniques that we're gonna learn, so you're gonna do it like this, you know? Or like otherwise in like maybe a professional setting, if you're you know, sewing for somebody else, and it's like being done in a standardized way. You're not sewing for you, you're sewing for somebody else, and they have it done in a specific way, you know? There really are just not rules. There are just like methods that are more commonly used in situations than other methods, right? Like, for instance, you don't have to press your seams. That's one thing that you're gonna see a lot of if you start to getting like into sewing spaces, is like people will be like, press your fucking seams. You don't have to press your seams if you like really don't want to, but there will be situations in which not pressing your seams will make everything like a million times more annoying. Like like things are done in the way that they commonly are because it will generally make your life easier, right? Okay, what fucking powder? You? Baby powder. I just have. Oh, that's a lot. Oh, she's. Okay. Yep, that's baby powder. Why did I smell it? I got a couple of people asking about my cat, which I'm very happy about, especially because I realized a while ago that I've never like introduced her in this space, because she's just kind of a fact of life for me. She's also probably currently under a bed right now, so I'll do this in a different clip so you can see the baby while I'm talking about her. This is Stormy. I have had her since she was about 6 months old. She's 16 now, although she does not look or behave like an elderly cat. She is quite spry. Miss Girl has diabetes, hyperthyroidism, and stage 3 kidney disease, so we don't think about that one if we don't have to. Fun little personality quirk about her is that Girly Pop only wants to drink water in the least convenient ways possible. Mostly she wants it like this. She wants me to pour water from the faucet into my hand, and she will drink it like that. This is her preferred method. This is a daily occurrence. She will also get into the tub after I've just taken a shower, and she'll lick the water off the floor. Or she will drink really nasty water in like the kitchen sink if she's up there. She doesn't really do that much anymore, I don't think, but she used to get up to mischief. She's not like overly affectionate compared to some other cats I've met, but she is very like sweet, very tolerant of a lot of things. Like, I'll pick her up and she doesn't like it, but she'll you know, she'll deal with it for a hot second. She has also gotten a little bit more cuddly with age. She never really used to be a lap cat, but like in more recent years, like breakfast time is like sitting on my lap time. She will also keep me company on my lap while I'm editing a lot of the time if it's not too hot, and if she's not on my lap, she oftentimes is like in the room somewhere with me. And sometimes, very occasionally, in like the winter months, if it's cold enough, she will sometimes come under the blankets with me before I have gotten out of bed in the morning, and we will have a little cuddle moment, and she will sleep there with me before I have to get up in the morning. Yeah, I know. She also really loves being rubbed down with a wet paper towel. Really likes that. Not like, doesn't want to be submerged in water, but likes having water put on her. Next one I have is, other than Robin Hobb stuff, have you got any books you'd recommend? Now here's the thing. If you are a person who reads, and you have already read Robin Hobb, there is probably not a lot that I have read that you haven't. I don't really, here's the thing, I do read, actually. I read when I have the time to, but it's like mostly fan fiction. Like, some of the books that I can recommend, Chromatic Fantasy was a recent read. It's a graphic novel, very trans, very cute, very explicit. The Howl's Moving Castle trilogy is one that I really liked, especially like if you like Ghibli Howl, but if you've never met Book Howl, if you think Ghibli Howl is like a pathetic wet cat of a man, Oh, you gotta meet my boy Book Howl. Oh, he's such a bitch. I love him so much. I can also plug my friend's work, The Black Carnival, Harlequin Grimm. I will say though, like if you are used to like Robin Hobb levels of prose, you gotta tone your expectations down a little bit with that one, which is like, I am so very sorry, Quinn, but I can tell that it's your first novel. He's not gonna see this anyway, it doesn't matter. I can say whatever I want. It's a fun little read. I think like, what's interesting about it is like, I read it when I was in the middle of Liveship Traders. I took a break and I read Black Carnival. So I was like, Realm of the Elderlings made me feel like I was getting smarter as a reader. It was like really like, it's incredible like narrative construction. And so I was able to sort of contrast that with Quinn's book when I was reading it. What he does well is like, he's really good at stringing a mystery together. There are no holes in his plot. And he's really good at like putting kind of just enough of the right kind of vibe down where like you can figure out like some of what's going on before Atherton does, and it was like really gratifying as a reader for me to like have those suspicions confirmed. What he struggles with, I think, and this is something that like directly contrasts with what I was experiencing with Realm of the Elderlings, is I think he could learn better to like commit to the consequences of his own stakes. He sets up this like really like catastrophic, very cathartic, very like horrific event in the middle of the book, and it's like the build up to it is really, really good, and then it happens and it's like wild and fucked up, and then you get the rest of the book and there's kind of no consequences, and we don't really get to see Atherton living with the trauma of it all. It kind of just sort of like fixes itself in like the narrative equivalent of a montage. And that is something that I was a little bit disappointed by. But like overall, it's a good read. It's, you know, it's a fun little read. It's a thriller. There are some things that are like rather like satisfyingly fucked up. There were also a couple moments that like really tugged at me emotionally. Like, it's a good story. It's just not like, you know, it's not Robin Hobb. Anyway, that's my 2 to 5 minute Harlequin Grimm Black Carnival review. That's you're welcome, Quinn. What am I doing? Now, I didn't really have like much of a plan for this, so we're gonna find out what I'm doing right now as we go. Another question that I got sort of like a bunch of variants on was like, how did you find your sense of style? Does gender have anything, like how does it interact with gender? What's your biggest source of artistic inspiration for like fashion? I have said before in a video that I could write a thesis on the interaction between gender euphoria and like costume and clothing. And also that I am not going to do that. So what you're gonna get is the answer to this question instead. For me, like the development of gender and style kind of happened like more or less concurrently. They didn't like, one didn't really like lead to the other necessarily. If anything, the clothing happened first, I think. That was a more conscious thing that it was happening, is like cosplay kind of came first, but they are intrinsically linked. What am I doing? I don't really like know. Let's start with my eyebrows. I don't fucking know. Oh, I could put glitter on. That would be a nightmare with the fucking white face. Never mind. I didn't really start like dressing for style until kind of junior year of like high school, and it was not much. It was just kind of like a funky little jacket and colorful pants and like, you know, slightly less practical shoes. So, if you're wondering why I'm petting you, it's because you're covered in powder. Sort of like my time during college, and then like the immediate couple of years following that were like my primary moment of like developing into a real person. And that is both in terms of like dressing for fashion, and also in terms of developing a stronger sense of gender. So it was a time where I was like learning about sewing, developing an interest in historical fashion, and I was also sort of like very gradually shifting towards like the more mask area of the gender spectrum. So dressing for like, first of all, I don't usually dress very like outlandish in my day-to-day clothing. It's just kind of like stuff that's like, you know, easy to move in, easy to wear, but it's like a little bit cunty. But sometimes I have stuff that's like a little bit out of the ordinary, like my orange pants are a big sort of like default item for me, and that is, you know, unusual, and I get comments on them sometimes. The way that I dress is, it kind of works primarily as a way for me to immerse myself a little bit in some kind of interest. I'm inserting myself into an alternate setting that isn't this reality, because this reality is fucking boring and everybody dresses like shit. Examples of this include, like, I've been really into the Dickens Fair, and so I get very like Victorian inspired, or like just like kind of vaguely historical in the shapes of my clothing, or like solar punk, or like modern circus, kind of like an acrobat core kind of moment. The current one is like a jester or like medieval revival sort of fixation. All of it is like, I like to dress in ways that kind of hint at what I would kind of really like to be wearing a full costume of. And I think in like day-to-day, my style looks very androgynous, but like to my eyes, I dress very masculine. It just like isn't the same kind of masculine as like modern day mainstream masculine, because what that is like a fucking t-shirt and basketball shorts, and it's ugly. And then of course there's also the fact that like people seeing my particular presentation of masculinity on my body specifically, they're gonna read it as feminine. Like, I think people usually look at me and think I'm like a weird lesbian or something, I don't know. But the thing about it is like the interests that I am trying to sort of immerse myself in are also things that I have found like different expressions of masculinity in, and they're the ones that more so match my taste than the kind of masculinity that is expected of people most of the time. So like my sort of my orange pants poofy shirt combo is like a Victorian boy, like a newsie or something like that. Like turtleneck and like my little, I just fucking manhandled the mic. Turtleneck and like my like poofy black like stretchy pants that I just made, not just made, it was kind of a while ago, but like that's like very like circus core to me, you know, because it's like, oh, you know, acrobat stuff. If I'm wearing like kind of a loose shirt tucked into leggings, and maybe I've got some like knee-high socks on over those, like that's a very like feminine coded thing, but to me it looks like a Prince kind of coded outfit. Like I've got dancer vibes, like ballet dance, like Prince kind of vibes. If I'm wearing my little funky little like weird shawl thing, like it's like that's wizard. That's a wizard, you know? Weird little traveling druid or some shit. So a lot of it is for very much like trying to turn everyday clothing a little bit into a costume, you know, because it is, you know, it is. All clothing is costume in, you know, if you want to get into that sort of theoretical sense of things. As Ru of Paul once said, fucking everything else is drag, right? Another question I have is, if your closet would just vanish tomorrow, what would be the first articles of clothing that you replace or make or just acquire in general? First of all, devastating. I would spend a lot of time crying about that. But like, first thing would of course be like staple pieces, like get a nice pair of pants, not a nice, but like a nice looking pair of pants. Get some like basic shirts, you know, things that are like the shapes that you can build an outfit off of, and then we can worry about like getting the details. Are you a dancer or performer of some sort? My daughter said you sit like a gymnastic person, and I think ballet possibly. Yes and no, actually. I am a performer in the literal sense. I have a bachelor's in theater arts. I have a degree in being good at acting. So that's like my most trained skill, my most like highly educated skill. So I am, you know, a performer, or I was. I haven't really done it in kind of a fucking long time. I do have some experience with dance. Mostly it was like, kind of like very basic level, like lyrical jazz. That was kind of mostly in college and when I was living in Santa Cruz. It wasn't a matter of like having like formal training. It was just kind of like, you know, beginner level adult classes just to kind of have some movement going in. But it was, you know, it's fun. But like most of what you're seeing is that I am a circus artist. I am literally actually a circus artist. I'm not good at it. I need to make that very clear. I'm not like, I'm very much still like beginner level. I'm at kind of that like stage where it's like, I'm like approaching intermediate level, but I'm still not like strong enough, like physically strong enough yet to really be able to call myself intermediate. So it's kind of like gymnastics or dance or ballet. It's kind of like no, none of that, but also yes, all of that at the same time. Do you have any interests besides fashion and garment construction? And if so, what are they? Oh, yes. My first love was drawing. I've always been doodling shit. I always, you know, I love to draw. Acting is something we've already covered. I really like immersive events like Renaissance fairs, like the Dickens Fair. LARP is a hypothetical member of this list, but I've never been to a LARP event. I've done like homebrew LARPs with my friends, which were very fun, and I would like to do more, but I don't get many opportunities for that. Circus, as we've mentioned. Music production is something that I do every once in a while. I was a band kid in middle and high school, and I never really had the drive to get super good at it, but it's, you know, knowledge that has been very useful for making music digitally. Sometimes I'm a gamer when I have the time for that. And then I realized that I could mention this as something that is a hobby, I guess, is I am like a little bit witchy. I like doing tarot readings. Nobody say shit about the way that I pronounce that, by the way. Taro is a fucking root vegetable. They're nice as a little like tool for self-reflection, if nothing else. Oh, I'm sitting here and I am already sweating so much. How bad is it? Is it 85? Is it 98? Oh yes, it is 91 degrees outside. Sweating. I might actually put a different shirt on. Okay, so we're gonna switch out the Miracle Max shirt and we're gonna change into the Monty Python t-shirt, which is a different shade of beige. Leading into the next question, how do you find a way to balance all of your hobbies and work? Like, all of your creations are so beautiful, thank you very much, but how do you find the time? That is a really funny question. I am incredibly fortunate in my living situation. I live with my father and he owns his house and I don't have to pay rent. So I don't have to work as many hours as like people who do have to pay rent. I just have to cover the cost of like food, circus, gas, and like my cat's medical nonsense. And that's kind of, those are my big expenses. So that allows me to have a lot of time to do like the shit that I want to be doing. But here's the thing about that as well. I don't consider this to be a hobby. This is something that I am trying to make into like my full-time job, which means that I have to work really hard at it, which means that any time that I am not at work, especially now when I'm on so many deadlines, when I'm not at my like real human normal person job, I am doing this. Like I'm like so what happens is like all I do is work. Like I haven't just like taken a day to just not do anything in particular, not do anything productive. April, May, June, like 3 months. I'm not gonna say that that's a healthy mindset to be in, but that's where I'm at right now. I am also low-key, high-key trying to quit my barista job, so hopefully I'll get something that's like a little bit more flexible. Maybe will pay me more money. I'm looking at tailoring jobs. I really want to quit. Actually, everybody wants to. Just about everybody in the barista section is trying to get a different job because our manager sucks. What's the biggest challenge you had with filming your sewing process? Also, how do I learn to make a curved hem without wanting to tear my eyes out? You got to accept that it's gonna be a little bit wrinkly. It's gonna do that wrinkling, like the kind of rippling thing, and you gotta move on with your life. It'll be. I think like figuring out how much I realistically need to record and how much I can leave out. Making myself leave things out. I really am prone to like over-explaining things and getting really into the details, which I understand some people like do really enjoy. I don't want to be editing all that shit. I don't want to deal with that. Especially now that I've kind of been letting myself talk again in my videos. Like I got to a point where I was like, I need to not be saying things to the camera because I just keep rambling. If my speech is not scripted, I so completely, it's bad. It's really bad. It's bad. But I also am, you know, bearing in mind the fact that like, I know that like the type of videos that I make are the kind of things that most people when they're watching them are putting them on while they're like doing something else. And so if I'm chatty in my videos, they're more likely to be engaging and people are gonna, you know, be more likely to carry on watching them. So it's a really difficult balance to strike, and I tend to sort of over-explain things or explain things too many times, and like, it's just fucking, it's really hard to edit. It's really hard to edit. Oh my God. Gotta lock in for this real quick, hold on. Let's go back in, we'll just put blue in there. Oh, fucking. What kind of dream fashion piece would you make for yourself if you truly had unlimited resources to make it happen? That is so interesting as a question, because my resources are not like really limited. Like the kind of stuff that I want to make, I don't really have anything that is like super prohibitive in terms of the resources that it takes. And I have money. Cannot stress this enough. I do actually have money. I don't really go for things that are super like really over the top high fashion extravagant. Like the first thing that comes to mind as like something that you would think of as an answer to this question is like the fucking like, I haven't even actually watched the video, but the like 1,000 or something like petal dress that Hiatus made, like that's something that takes a lot of fucking time and energy and resources, and it's like, that's, you know, incredibly complicated, right? Or another thing is like, if you're like a big build like mech kind of, if you're like an armor cosplayer or some shit like that, if you're doing stuff with like electronics that are like using a lot of different techniques, that's another thing, like where like builds are like really complex and detailed and like use a lot of different like areas of knowledge, is not something that I really like do. Is like, I don't have anything that like in mind that I would want to do that with. So I feel like this is like, the answer to this is like, it wouldn't be something for me, like just me. I think if I truly had like the means and we're using time as a resource, I think it would be like, I would want to like instigate some kind of film and costume for that. Like you know, again, right now I'm like really into like Jesters, medieval revival, sort of like high fantasy kind of shit. Realm of the Elderlings, not that that should ever get a visual adaptation, and if it does, it would need to be two-dimensional or I would simply riot. But like, I think like some kind of like historical fantasy moment and being able to sort of like film it. You know how some people like a director will like direct and then also act in a film? That's what I wanted. I want to like the concept and not the story. I don't have a story, but like the concept, the costumes, cast me as a jester, like, like get me in there. Like I really kind of love the idea of just like creating a world and like being able to do the costumes right, you know? Being able to make fun choices with actual historical influence, and you know. And I suppose that kind of leads a little bit into the next question that I have, which is, what is your motivation to make YouTube videos? Which is another fascinating one, because I am not sure if I even know, really. Like, primarily what I'm doing is like show and tell. I like to show off what I'm making. But the thing about that is like, you can also do that without making an entire video about it, right? I kind of have just like always been drawn to this. What the fuck? Great, okay, whatever. Yeah, okay, so as I was saying, this is a medium that I kind of have just always been drawn to for some reason. When I was little, this best friend that I mentioned whose wedding dress I altered, when we were like very, very small, like I'm like preschool, kindergarten, her parents, I guess, had a camcorder. And so this was something that we would just do. We would go and we would make little movies with our stuffed animals. We had like a franchise going, and we had like other things. We had spin-offs, we had like unrelated movies. Like it was the thing that we did. And then as we got older, we would kind of continue doing this, but it was like we would get into like actually acting in the little films ourselves and like posting things to YouTube. And it's like, so it's like, and then it also was something that I did independently. You know, my mom would have like a digital camera that could record video, and I started just like using that and making little videos and eventually uploading them to YouTube. I had it like, I was in like 5th grade and I had a YouTube channel, and I was just like, just kind of like playing with my toys and uploading videos. And I was really into sort of like the sort of niche that existed on YouTube at the time of like other people doing kind of the same thing. Like there was this genre of video where it was just these kids making like Webkins this, or like Littlest Pet Shop things. I remember there was a fucking like an entire series that was like CSI LPS. It was like a crime drama with their Littlest Pet Shops. Grew out of that eventually, but I've just kind of like on and off always come back to making videos, and this is the first time that it's like gone anywhere, and I've been really consistent about it, and it's sort of taken off, and it's been something that I have, you know, developed into something that is like, I think, you know, they're becoming quite polished and well executed videos. So I have essentially been doing this on and off for my entire life. And I don't like that. At that point, it's like, I don't really have a why. I don't really have a like, what makes you do it. It's just kind of like, man, this is just a thing that I do. Get blued, idiot. We'll get so fucking blued. Okay, I need to do something with my lips. I don't know what. This is one part of it that I really didn't have a plan for. What do I have? I have black lipstick. I have whatever the fuck this is. Oh, I do literally have blue. I forgot about this. So let's try something. We're gonna fuck around and we are going to find out. Wow, that's very pigmented. This is the kind of shit that I'm probably gonna have to set with powder and go back to my Cirque du Soleil makeup tutorial roots. Okay, I've got a bunch of questions that are a little simpler that I am gonna try to kind of rapid fire. One of which is, what is your sewing tools and setup? You want a tour? Let's have a tour. This is the room. It's kind of dark in here right now because I have to keep the curtains closed because it's like almost a fucking 100 degrees today. It's actually, oh wait, I was gonna say it's kind of a mess, but I cleaned it up recently. Machine, oh my God, you're so overexposed. Machine, miscellaneous shit. This is kind of like current things that don't really have a designated cube in the fabric cubes. I've got random tools, shit, cutting board, tape, razors, etc. Adhesives and tapes, filming equipment, oh my God, filming equipment, miscellaneous things, thread, this is like mostly USB sticks, pumpkin from last Halloween. It is right next to my PC and my editing setup. Over here I've got stuff. This is where I keep bigger pieces of fabric scraps. This is where I keep the rest of the fabric scraps to make like cabbage so that I don't like waste any. If I ever need to stuff anything, I have this on hand. The baby. These are for packaging product. Dye stuff, I really would like to move these. That's gonna happen soon. This is the cube system where I have well, all of that is just kind of a bunch of miscellaneous shit right now. That's like curtains and things. That's a cube where I put things that I don't really know where else to put them. This is shop stuff. This is kind of shop stuff. This is also kind of shop stuff. That's a pile of shoes. These are sort of my main two cubes where it's like, these are the current things that I'm working on. There's Kifri, Jester hat, Jester hat, Jester hats, Basil. This is where I keep, oh my god. This is where I keep like stationery type of shit, where I have all my stamps, fun sticky notes, my washi tapes, my little freebie stickers. This is all like shop packaging stuff. Sitting on top of all of this is my postal scale and my hat of notions, scissors, thread, chalk, and all measuring tape, sewing machine shit, you know, the works. And this is a little friend who is, I think, a little bit camera shy, so I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on him, but there is, you know. Oh, I forgot I was wearing all this. If you were transformed into a T-Rex for 4 hours, what would you do with that time? See, now my first instinct was, of course, to say that I would kill the president, but I can't do that in 4 hours. That's on the other side of the country. I can't. Videos that will get me put on a list. I would find the nearest data center. I would have somebody look up for me because I wouldn't be able to use a smartphone with my T-Rex arms where the nearest data center is. And I would just go apeshit on it. Tape Cost asked me, what's your favorite fish? Is it a cop-out if I say a mantis shrimp, which is not a fish and is also not a shrimp? I also like, I don't know, octopuses are really cool. Another thing that is not a fish. I don't know a lot about aquatic life. Other than Witch Hat Atelier, what are some of your favorite anime? Dungeon Meshi is like a, you know, first thing that comes to mind. Like the overlap between Witch Hat and Dungeon Meshi fans is like, the Venn diagram is very nearly a circle. I know Frieren is like the third, like that's like the holy trinity of like gay people fantasy anime. I don't know anything about Frieren. Don't know how that happened. What's your favorite material to work with? Again, is it like, am I boring if I just kind of say like cotton shirting? It's cooperative, it gets the job done, it's cheap usually because you can just go to a thrift store and get a bed sheet. What's your favorite thing you've made? That is a question that kind of is heavily dependent on whatever the last thing is that I made, but I think like in terms of like quality of the output, how it looks, re-wearing it, I want to say like Kifri. Kifri is one that I'm really, really proud of in terms of like the simplicity of the robe and just the whole look of the hat and cloak. If I can be a little bit of an asshole for a second, I don't think I have ever seen another Kifri cosplayer who has a cloak that drapes the way that mine does. And I am a little bit arrogant about that, just like to myself in my own head. Who is your favorite craft or art YouTuber? The ones that I watch the most regularly, in no particular order, Prickly Alpaca, Morning Mercury, and Rachel Maxey. How do you like to learn new crafts? I kind of don't, like, I don't seek out new things, kind of just like for the sake of learning them. What I will do is like, if there is something that I am trying to accomplish, like a very specific thing that I want to build that requires a skill set that I do not have, I will learn. But otherwise, like, I'm good, you know? If you could go to one place for 10 days with no worry about cost, where would it be? I want to say somewhere like Ireland or like Japan, because those are destinations that I would like to go to someday. But I also like Beagle-ine, like the Brandywine Festival. I really want to go to like a big LARP. Fuck, marry, kill, zippers, buttons, hooks, and eyes. This one did make me laugh. Fuck zippers, because they're never gonna be like my go-to, but they're good when I need them. They do their job when you need them. Marry buttons, kill hooks and eyes. I respect hooks and eyes, but they are so annoying to install. They also, sometimes they just kind of like come undone depending on where you put them. Do you have a favorite reference book or site for sewing? No, I will, if I need to sort of like learn something, if I need to look something up, I will put it in a search engine. I will describe in the search engine, not Google, because Google's fucking trash nowadays and there's no setting to turn off the AI and you have to manually type like -AI into every fucking search you do, so not Google anymore. But I will, you know, describe into the search engine what it is that I'm looking for if I don't know what it's called, and then I will go with whatever tutorial comes up that looks like it is the most to the point. Now, I don't really need to worry about my hair very much because I'm gonna put a hat on, but I also got a question about my hair routine, so we can elaborate on that. Hello, welcome to the night before. This usually is what the routine is like. The hair gets put into Velcro foam rollers, Velcro because it's too short for anything else. Let it dry, usually that involves hitting it with a blow dryer. I let it sit like that for most of the evening, and then I will take most or all of it out before bed because these are very, very uncomfortable to try to sleep in. And then whatever is like flat or sitting in a way that's fucky the next day, I will address with a flat iron. If I want to be sure that it's gonna hold any shape, especially if I'm gonna be like like moving around a lot, or like going to San Francisco where there is wind and I want it to hold literally any amount of shape, I will blast it with Gochupi hairspray. This ask is so funny to me because there's literally nothing to be envious about it at all. My hair is extremely fine, pin straight, and deeply uncooperative most of the time. So this is kind of like the thing that like the routine that I have found that kind of allows it to have any texture for kind of the minimal possible amount of effort, because I do have to do this basically every day. It's like I curl it or I have straight ugly hair and I look weird. Which is not to say that straight hair is ugly, it's just that like because if it's like unstyled, it sits legitimately so flat on my head and I look like a medieval serf. In terms of washing it, like the routine for like caring for it, I suppose, that was air quotes, but they were out of frame. I actually don't, so I rinse it every day because I take a shower every day, but I virtually never shampoo my hair. I only ever use shampoo on my hair if I've like been putting a lot of product in it and it's kind of like building up and getting gross. And even then, it's only ever like a very small amount. I try to kind of dilute it and I never let it get down to the root. I found when I was still like washing my hair, like, I don't know, every other day, every couple days, I would find that like having a little bit of the like natural oils in the hair was really, really helpful for getting it to maintain any kind of body when I styled it. And so I sort of just stopped shampooing it so frequently. And that led to me sort of just like tapering off of using shampoo and conditioner so much. And I just was like gradually using less and less and less. And now I kind of just like don't need it at all most of the time. And that's the thing, is like, if you stop using shampoo, you will go through a period where your hair is like really fucking greasy because it is overcompensating for, you know, all of the you know, when you're stripping all of the oil out of it every day, or every other day, or how often it is you wash your hair. And then once you get over that greasy period, your scalp will in fact just regulate itself. So again, I don't really need to wash my hair unless I've been like putting a bunch of shit in it to style it. Because my hair is so, if it's clean, if it's like fully clean, it is lifeless. So like, much prefer to just kind of like have a residual little bit of something in it at all times. You will only ever find me like shampooing down to my scalp if I'm gonna like dye my full head of hair. Oh, I guess I should probably put like setting spray on if I want this to not melt when I sweat. I've inspired myself and so many others to look towards fashion and sewing. Thank you very much. What would you say, in your opinion, would be a good beginner's project? Shirt. Literally, like Bernadette Banner pirate shirt tutorial was kind of where I started. It's all rectangles. It's all rectangles. That, or like maybe like a circle skirt or something if that's more your vibe. Like anything that is like geometrically simple in its patterning, and all you need to really worry about is like making sure your seams are structurally sound and like your measurements are good and shit like that. May I ask me, where were you the night of December 12th, 1941? I was in your mom's room. Actually, are you familiar with free art closets? They are a really great resource to access or donate materials, art supplies, and crafting supplies. I have not heard that phrase before, actually, art closets specifically. I have my sources that I usually go to for like secondhand stuff, but I've not heard of that, and I will look that up. And we'll see if I can find any nearby. Now, I didn't like really plan out the details of this outfit when I started. So we're gonna see what I have and what I can reach. Do you have a dream project that you aren't ready to do? Something that you either need the perfect fabric for or you don't trust your skills quite enough? I think I want to say, like, I have always known, ever since I made my first iteration of it, I always knew that I wanted to remake Kifri's chapter 14 outfit because I made mine before we had color, you know, like official color for it, and so I just kind of did whatever the fuck I wanted. The technique on that shirt still holds up pretty well. And what I want to do with my next take on it is I want to go really, really hard on the details. I want to see like just how ornate I can make a costume. And so a lot of the stuff for that I have in mind is like kind of stuff that I don't really do. Like I don't do embroidery, I've never done beading. So I think you will probably see me doing some practicing for that in the next year or so. Where do you find all the awesome music you feature in your videos? Many of you, dare I say possibly even most of you, many of you are familiar with Dan and Phil. Everybody is always coming into my comment section being like, I thought that sounded familiar, what the fuck? Yeah, that is gonna be visible, god damn it. Dan and Phil are like single-handedly keeping this channel afloat with their copyright-free music that is completely fair use and fucking slaps. Like, what am I gonna do? Not use the free music that's really good? Anything else that isn't Dan and Phil is gonna be, it's like other like fair use stuff that I have searched for. I do not have an Epidemic Sound subscription because I am not making all that much money off of these videos, and that's not an investment that is worth it at this time. And I'm really stubborn about that. Anything that I use is always like linked, not linked, but credited in the descriptions of my videos, because I really hate when somebody uses a song that's like really, really good in their videos, and I'm like, oh god, I want to listen to that. I want to know what that's called so I can search it up and just listen to it. And then there's like there's no information about what the music is. And that always like pisses me off. So all of the music that I use from external sources are always listed in my descriptions. And if there's ever anything that comes up in the video, any music in the video that isn't credited, it's because it's something that I wrote. I think a majority of my reveal sequences actually are music that I either composed or I built the cover from scratch. And then last question is, do you like to cook? No, I don't. It takes so much time and you have to wash so many dishes. I do like to kind of like meal prep. I like meal prepping because it makes me feel like I have a handle on my life. Makes me feel like a competent adult. I used to, when I had more time, I would like, you know, every once in a while just like make a giant pot of soup, and then I would have soup for a week and it was great. Meal prep is really nice because then, you know, you do it all at once and then you don't have to spend time on cooking for the rest of the week. It's great. But otherwise, it's like, cooking is not something that I find like any kind of creative outlet in. My cooking is very simple. I eat a lot of pasta. Okay, well, I'm gonna go put clothes on, and then I'll show you what the final kind of look is like. And then we're gonna see how it looks, because I don't really know. I'd love to accessorize, but I don't really know what the fuck I'm doing. Don't look at it too closely. There is a lot of shirt stuffed into this waistcoat. This one's a little bit unruly. This is a very, very stiff fabric, so it kind of... Now you may well be asking, Dorian, why the fuck do you have so many jester hats? And that is an extremely valid question. I promise you that all will be revealed in time. Yeah? Well, thank you so very much for watching. I think I got to just about every question that I have seen people ask up until this point in time that I'm recording. So if you ask anything afterwards and I didn't get to it, I'm very sorry. I'll try to answer it in my comments. I appreciate every one of you so very much for watching and subscribing and commenting and everything. It's really like having the audience to sort of potentially make this into something that I can like make a living off of is really like inspiring to me to like keep going and keep pushing and keep like building on what I've done. And so you guys give me a lot of hope that I can get myself out there and I can sort of like make a name for myself in a way. Probably should have scripted this part of the video, but I didn't. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you had a nice time hearing me yap about myself for, it's been like an hour and a half for me. I don't know how long this video is gonna end up being. I am probably going to spend the rest of the day like this. Not in this, because I'm already really fucking hot. It's like 95 degrees out. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for subscribing and paying attention to me. Thank you especially for your questions. I'm really glad I got people asking shit, because I was like, I don't know if anybody's gonna even ask anything. But I had fun doing this. I had fun doing a silly little makeup, and I hope I delivered some appropriately whimsical vibes for you. Yeah, I will see you in the next one, which hopefully will also be out in August. Maybe. Well, as ever, thank you for hanging out with me so very much. I'll see you next time. Bye.